It's time for some NFL Week 4 player props. Let's go! What's going on, everyone? Welcome back in to another episode for Just a Bet Outside. I am your host, Steven, and it's that time of the week. That's right, we got NFL player props for you. If you were looking for the game bets video, that is already out. Also give out all the Week 4 trends and any leans I have for this weekend. And if you're new to the channel, also, I'm going to be on Kyle Kerm's show again on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to break down all the games. If you're not a part of that channel, definitely go hit subscribe. They're awesome over there. But be sure to check it out. Come join us. Have a lot of fun talking some football. But I'm ready to get into it. And, of course, before that, any graphics you see in this video, you know, are from OUTLIER, the best betting research tool on the market today. I've been sitting on this all day long, to be honest with you. But click that link below, and you get a 7-day free trial. So let's start it out with a little dad joke again. So here we go. Ever since I've been in a wheelchair, my wife has been so rude. She's pushing me and talking behind my back. Anyways, in this video, we're going to give out my actually 6 best player props for Week 4, and then my 3 favorite anytime touchdown bets. And, of course, we'll finish it with the recap. So hit that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment below to help this channel continue to grow. If you're new to the channel, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Come join this awesome community. Let's have a great Week 4. And that starts with the player props. All right, before we get started with player prop number 1, I did want to say I'm going to the UW-Ohio State game tomorrow on Saturday. So if you have any bets, drop them in the comments below. Should be a great game. Those are my 2 favorite teams. Get to watch them battle it out with Ohio State in town. But anyways, now NFL player prop number 1. Carson Wentz under 30.5 pass attempts, minus 110 on FanDuel. This is a 1-unit play for me here. My plan was not to bet this game in Dublin. And guess what? Here I am putting a 1-unit play on him. But this is a very high number for a Vikings quarterback. We cashed J.J. McCarthy's under pass attempts in Week 2 easily, if you guys remember that on Sunday Night Football. So hopefully we can do it again here. But here's how many pass attempts we have seen from Vikings quarterbacks through 3 weeks. Week 1, J.J. McCarthy, 20. Week 2, J.J. McCarthy, 21. Week 3, Carson Wentz had 20, and then they had a backup in for a blowout who had 4 attempts as well. They're not getting anywhere near this line. Now, why is that? Well, because they love to run the ball. That's what they want to do. They attempt the fewest passes per game in the NFL, 21.7 pass attempts per game. The next closest, Baltimore at 25.3. It is not even close. On top of that, Vikings have played at the 3rd slowest pace in the NFL. Less possessions obviously helps when you have an under here. They've trailed in a couple games as well, and it hasn't made their pass attempts go crazy or anything like that. Now they're facing a Steelers defense. They've been below average versus the run this season, giving up 4.3 yards per carry so far through 3 weeks. I expect Jordan Mason, you can see by his rush yards line, he should have a big workload and a big game here. Steelers are tied for 11th and fewest pass attempts given up. We have a low 40.5 total, a tight 2.5 spread. I don't think there's going to be a reason for Carson Wentz to all of a sudden chuck it all over the field. I know Jordan Addison is back, but I don't see Wentz in this Minnesota offense throwing 31 times when they're averaging 21. Maybe they changed the complete game plan because they're playing in a different country. I have no idea. I think this line should be closer to 26.5, maybe 27.5 to be honest with you. But weird things happen in international games. I'm putting a unit on it. Hopefully this kind of a bet under pass attempts avoids all the craziness that happens. But give me Wentz under 30.5 pass attempts as prop number 1. All right, you're going to see a theme for Week 4 in my player props, and some of you guys might not like it at all. We continue. Give me Christian McCaffrey under 74.5 rush yards, minus 110 on DraftKings for a half unit here. Always scary fading a bell cow like Christian McCaffrey, but he has not been very good running the ball this season. It's partly him, partly the O-line, but through 3 weeks, how about 69, 55, and 52? So he's under this line easily in all 3 weeks, so it shouldn't be crazy that we're taking it under here. He's averaging just 3.5 yards per attempt. His longest rush in each week, 13, 10, and 15. So he's not breaking these long ones. Not as explosive as usual, at least in the running game between the tackles and stuff. And like I said, one of the issues, that O-line is probably having one of their worst years in quite a while when it comes to run blocking. They're getting pushed back a little bit more than usual. We're used to Shanahan offenses and running games just being absolutely dominant. But he had 22 rush attempts in Week 1. Then they started cutting him back. 13 rush attempts and 17 rush attempts the next 2 weeks. Now, yes, Purdy is back for the 49ers. I don't really think that changes much. Maybe they pass it a little bit more, actually. But he's facing McCaffrey against his Jaguars defense. Surprisingly, how about the number one run success rate on defense? They've allowed 4.1 yards per carry. Running backs versus the Jags so far, Nick Chubb, 38 yards. He had a 48.5 line. Chase Brown, 47 rush yards. He had a 68.5 line. And Chuba Hubbard had a 59.5 line, and he has 57. So all three running backs to face them have gone under already. The linebackers for the Jaguars have been playing pretty well, especially against the run. So no one's gotten near this line versus Jacksonville yet. CMC has been great in the passing game. I definitely would not include the under for the combo line. They are using him like a number one receiver right now. But I like this under. So give me run CMC under 74.5 rush yards as my second best prop. All right, we stick with the same theme. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs under 64.5 rush yards, minus 110 on Bet365 for a half unit. Yes, another under here. This is the same bet as last week. My favorite prop last week was Josh Jacobs under rush yards against Cleveland. He had almost a 80 yards line, and he had 30 yards. So let's cash another under running backs versus Cleveland. Let's talk Gibbs first. He's under this in just 1 of 3 games. Week 1, he had 19 yards versus another elite running defense, which is Green Bay's. Week 2, 94 yards on 12 carries versus Chicago. But the Bears have given up the second most yards per attempt at 5.5. They are like Panthers bad. Week 3, 67 yards on 22 carries. It took him 22 carries to get over this line versus Baltimore, only a 3 yards per carry average. And Baltimore's given up the 8th most rush yards per attempt at almost 5 yards per carry. And then we have Montgomery, obviously going to take some carries away. Gibbs has 43 carries through 3 weeks. Monty has 34 carries through 3 weeks. So, again, he had 22 carries last week. I don't expect that every single week. But let's talk this ridiculously good Browns run defense now. Giving up just 2.3 yards per attempt. Number 1 in the NFL, and it's not even close. Browns are giving up a total of 57.3 yards per game on the ground. 57.3 is insane. Now, running backs versus Cleveland. How about Josh Jacobs? Just 30 rush yards. Derrick Henry, 23 rush yards. Chase Brown, 43 rush yards. These 3 studs, if you include Brown in there as a stud, have less than 100 yards combined in the first 3 weeks against them. And now, obviously, Gibbs is going to give way to Monty a little bit as well. So, overall, we got to ride the running back under train versus Cleveland. The reason it's not a one-unit play, game script could have the Lions up decent in the second half, and it could lead to just a ton of running, and maybe he gets over there on volume alone. Also, this is 64.5 line, not like close to 80 like Jacobs. Gibbs, you break one play, one broken tackle, and you never know. So this can be a little sweaty, but I like this under as well. Give me Gibbs under 64.5 rush yards as my third prop. All right, we take a short break from the under segment of the show because I got Brock Bowers over 56.5 receiving yards at minus 110 for a half unit as my fourth player prop. This man is an elite tight end. He's off to a slower start, been battling some injuries, which gives us a nice buy low spot here. First, he's not on the injury report. Hasn't been for a few days, so I expect a healthier Bowers. And second, the Raiders coaches and the quarterback came out and said, you know what, we need to get him more involved, get him more catches. I think it's kind of a squeaky wheel treatment here where he's had a couple bad games and they're going to kind of force feed him. So let's talk Bowers. Week 1, 103 receiving yards versus New England. Came out and just played like he did last year. Week 2, 38 receiving yards versus an elite Chargers pass defense. Week 3, just 38 receiving yards versus Washington. Again, he almost didn't play due to injuries. Probably shouldn't have, but he still has 21 targets through 3 weeks, averaging almost 13 yards per catch. He has the 4th most air yards for tight ends with 162. 7.7 ADOT, but he's a big yards after catch guy. He has 92 yards after catch through 3 weeks. It's the 4th most among tight ends. Now, the matchup's pretty good. The Chicago Bears just gave up 82 yards to Ferguson last week. They did hold Laporta and Hawkinson in check, but Lions blew them out. Didn't really need Laporta. Vikings pass offense is just awful when J.J. McCarthy was the quarterback. And last season, Bears gave up the 6th most yards to tight ends, so this is just a struggle spot for them. And for me, just a big buy low spot on a top 3 tight end in this league. His line was much higher in the second half of last season. 2 bad games while battling injuries doesn't really scare me off. So give me Bowers over 56.5 receiving yards as my 4th prop. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. We got an under. Give me Saquon under 81.5 rush yards, minus 114 for a half unit. I know, another scary one. I'm taking star running back after star running back and going under. I get it, but just hear me out. I like this one. Easy game plan for Tampa should be to slow down Saquon. It should be for every team, but Tampa actually can do it. But Barkley this season has been under this line already in 2 of 3 games, so this isn't crazy. The run game has just not been as good. You Philly fans, we've seen regression, and we expected it. I mean, it was insane. It was like historic running game last year, but it's been pretty bad to start the year. In the first 3 games, Barkley had just 60 yards on 18 attempts in week 1. Week 2 had 88 rush yards, went over this, but it took him 22 attempts versus KC. And then week 3, 46 rush yards on 18 carries against the Rams. That's not good. Just over 2 yards a carry. He's averaging 3.3 yards per attempt, guys. It is not pretty. Again, this is a guy we've seen have really low yards per attempt year after year when he was with the Giants in a bad O-line. This isn't the Giants O-line, but they've been struggling a little bit more, and it's affected him a little bit. He looks like a little bit slower, but again, he's Saquon. He's a stud. I'm not going to sit here and say he's not, because he absolutely is. But he averaged almost 6 yards per attempt last season. We were waiting for some regression. But now he's facing the Bucs defense. Bucs have been great at stopping the run for a few years now with Todd Bowles at the helm. But this season, allowing the 6th fewest yards per attempt, 3.6. Running backs versus the Bucs this season, Breece Hall, 21 rush yards. His line was 57.5. Nick Chubb, 43 yards. His line was 49.5. And Bijan Robinson had a 75.5 line, and he had 24 rush yards. Those 3 running backs combined for a total of 88 rushing yards versus Tampa. You're welcome, hash brown math. But asking Barkley to get him 85 or more, it's just a lot to ask here. Vita Vea, this front 7 for the Buccaneers, they just know how to close gaps, know how to create a wall, and just really do well at stuff in the run. So I expect the Bucs to come out here and do the same here. I expect the Eagles to kind of come out and say, you know what, we got to beat them through the air, because the Bucs pass defense is not very good. So I can see that happening. Give me Saquon under 81.5 rush yards. That is my 5th prop. All right, we go back to an over, a little sneaky one on Sunday Night Football. Give me Jalen Tolbert over 2.5 receptions, minus 125 on DraftKings for a half unit. So, again, there's a lot of props you can look at here, especially on the Packers side, but I like Tolbert here at just needing 3 receptions. So let's talk about him. CeeDee Lamb went out last week. You guys know he's out for a month. When he went out, Tolbert ran 87% of routes for Dallas. He also had a 20% first read share. Ended with 6 targets last game, yet we're getting a 2.5 line. He's had 10 targets in the last 2 games, and he has a low 6.6 ADOT, which is average depth of target. I don't care. I don't need yards. It actually helps, because that means he's running shorter, quicker routes, or it's better for receptions, and we're going to need that, because the Packers defense probably going to get after Dak a little bit, especially a man named Micah Parsons. But he's going to need an outlet, and I think he's going to get some quick slants, quick outs, things like that. So it's going to help with this receptions line. But Packers defense, we know, one of the best in the NFL. I'm just asking for 3 receptions from a wide receiver. Packers 13th in receptions allowed to wide receivers. Most of the attention going to be on Pickens, trying to stop the run game, things like that. I expect another 6+ targets. He should get 3 catches here. Really like this play. Game script also, I expect the Packers to win easily in this game. As we talked about in the Game Bets video, that will lead to a lot of second half passing for Dallas yet again, which they did last weekend, and that's what got him some catches. But they also peppered Ferguson with targets. I don't see Ferguson getting 5 million targets again. So I like this one. Give me Tolbert over 2.5 receptions. That is my 6th and final player prop on the video. But we are not done yet. Let's talk some tutties. All right, I got 3 anytime touchdown bets for you. Again, I do a quarter unit each. Just have fun with these. You guys do what you want, but it's not a parlay for me. So the first one, maybe my favorite one, but it's the only one that's not plus money. Give me Omari and Hampton anytime touchdown, minus 115 on Bet365. He plays for the Chargers, if you don't know that, but he is now the bell cow for this team. Najee Harris, as you guys know, out for the season, and his backup now is Haskins. Not a big deal there. So last week, how about 19 rush attempts? He already has 8 red zone rush attempts this season. He scored 1 touchdown last week, facing the Giants, and what a great matchup. They have allowed 5 rushing touchdowns this season. Every opponent has had a touchdown from their running back. We've seen Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, Krosky Barrett all have a touchdown versus the Giants. They allow the 5th most rush yards per attempt at 5.2. Awful in the red zone. I mean, they've given up a touchdown to their opponent on 80% of their red zone drives. That's the 3rd worst in the NFL. Usually you don't get playable odds for a number 1 running back to get a touchdown. That's expected to get around 17 or more carries, so I like it. Give me Hampton for a tutty here as my first one. Second one, we're staying with the rookie theme. How about Travion Henderson for the Patriots? Plus 165 on Bet365. I think this is kind of a bit of a coming out party for him this weekend. He looks to be taking over the number one role. Last week, Ramondre Stevenson and Gibson had a total of 3 fumbles, I believe it was. He's been getting the number one reps in practice. And by the way, after those fumbles, the Patriots ran the ball 11 times. Henderson had all 11 of those rush attempts. He also had 3 receptions as well. I expect 10-plus receptions easily again from him. And he's facing the Panthers. We know, as bad as it gets stopping the run. Third most rush yards per attempt. Only giving up 2 rushing touchdowns, but again, one of those weeks was Atlanta that had 340 yards, they just had a bunch of turnovers. It was just a weird game. But I like Henderson here for a touchdown at these odds. And then the third one, Davante Adams, anytime touchdown for the Rams, plus 125 on Bet365. This is wild, but no wide receiver in the NFL has more red zone targets than Davante Adams. He has 8 red zone targets already through 3 weeks, 41.7% red zone target share for the Rams. That's pretty insane. He's turned that into 2 touchdowns already this year. And I've watched the Rams games quite a bit. I have Puka Nacua over receptions every week, it seems like. And by the way, that's used at like 7.5 now. But if you watch it, Matthew Stafford looks at him pretty much every time they get near the red zone. It's obviously in the game plan. And now they face a defense that's going to be susceptible, Indianapolis. This will be the toughest matchup for the Indy's defense. They have given up 3 touchdowns to wide receivers this year. They don't get much pressure on the quarterback, 20.8%. I expect Stafford to have a big game here. This game has a high total for a reason. You're going to see a lot of points. You already know how I feel about this game if you watch the Game Bets video. So I like Adams to get his 3rd touchdown in a row. That's what I got for my 6 player props, my 3 anytime touchdowns for week 4. But before we get out of here, let's check out the recap. All right, there it is. We started off with a bright and early 6:30 a.m. my time, 9:30 Eastern game in Dublin. Carson Wentz under 30.5 pass attempts. My day is going to start either really good or really bad early. That's a 1-unit play. Christian McCaffrey under 74.5 rush yards. Jahmyr Gibbs under 64.5 rush yards. Brock Bowers over 56.5 receiving yards. Saquon under 81.5 rush yards. That's right, 3 star running backs under. Lord help me. Jalen Tolbert over 2.5 receptions at a half unit on Sunday Night Football. And then my TD bets, Omarion Hampton, anytime touchdown. Travion Henderson, anytime touchdown. And Davante Adams, anytime touchdown. That's what I got for you guys for week 4. Again, the Game Bets video is out. Go check that out when you get a chance. But I appreciate the support. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Have a great Friday. Enjoy week 4. And we'll talk to you soon.